morning, everyone. Good morning. From this gospel passage we just heard, Jesus is teaching us a lesson about the importance of gratitude, or more specifically, the importance of giving thanks to God, giving thanks to Jesus. It reminds me of a story of a man who was up for a big promotion at work. Right? It would have been a really big job with a lot more responsibility and a much larger salary. It was a job that he had been had been a goal for many years. Like his whole career had been oriented toward getting this job. And he was very qualified, but there were also a half a dozen other candidates who were also really qualified for the job. And as he got closer to the day of his interview, he started to have doubts and worry that he might not be good enough for the job. And so he decided he'd go to church and pray. So he went to the church, went straight up to the altar, got on his knees. Said, God, I know that you know how important this job is to me. It's all I can think about. And I'm just asking for your help, God. Help me to do well in the interview. And if you can do that, if you can help me, God, to ace the interview and get the job, I promise that I will donate half of my increased salary to the church in Thanksgiving. So the next day, he had his interview, and it went well. He felt confident coming out, but he also noticed that all of the other candidates who came out of the interview were feeling confident. A few days go by, and he gets a call from his boss. The boss says, you know what, it was such a difficult decision because all of the candidates were equally qualified, really well qualified. But in the end, there was one candidate who stood out among all the others. He interviewed so well. So it became obvious that that's the right one for the job. And I'm happy to tell you that that's you. You got the job. And the man was so happy. He was elated. He was over the moon. And he went straight to the church. Went up to the altar, knelt down, and began to pray. He said, God, I'm sure you heard the news up there in heaven. I got the job. I aced the interview. And I'm so happy. And I'm so relieved. Oh, God, I am so relieved that I was able to do it all on my own. I didn't need your help after all. So I'm going to keep that donation, and I just want to thank you for being there just in case. You know, I think it's easy to fall into that trap. It's easy for me to fall into that trap, to think that my accomplishments are mine alone, independent of God. But we are not independent of God. No, we are totally dependent upon God. And those 9 ungrateful lepers in the parable, they didn't recognize the role that Christ had in their healing. And so they didn't think to give thanks. The man in the story didn't recognize the role that God had in his success. And so he didn't even think that thanks was merited. But the truth is that everything we have and are and will be, all of our successes, every breath we take is a gift from God. And so it is incumbent upon us to give thanks to God constantly for those blessings, for those gifts. And I think that's probably why most of us are here today. The word Eucharist means Thanksgiving. And so we share a meal of Thanksgiving. We share a prayer of Thanksgiving. And so this morning, as we come together to listen to God's holy word, to be nourished by the precious body and blood of Christ, let's pause for a moment and truly enter into Thanksgiving. Give thanks to God for the blessings that he bestows upon us, great and small, every single day. Let's give thanks especially for those blessings that we don't recognize. Those blessings that we don't really notice.